Let's see if that works. Okay. Just to introduce myself, I know a lot of you know who I am, but I'm Betty Rasmussen. I am the Closeouts and Deliverables Officer with the Office of Contracts and Grants here at the Boulder campus. And among other things, I assist faculty and department administrators with the management of deliverable deadlines, and I help coordinate award closeout, and I help navigate all the systems that we have for submitting reports. Well, that's part of what we're going to be talking about today is how we get that information into our sponsors. Just as an overview, what we're going to be covering is what is a deliverable, a report, the types of reports, why reporting matters, how to submit a successful report, components of a progress report, consequences of unsuccessful reporting, the OCG 3-strike rule, reporting updates, because there are some, and when in doubt, reach out. We'll also share some resources at the end. Okay, first of all, what is a deliverable? It typically, when we're talking about deliverables, we are talking about reports, but it can also be other things. It can be a fabrication or it could be a product. I know sometimes with service agreements, the PIs will be building a specific thing for them or providing some kind of service, and that is also considered a deliverable. But for the purpose of today, we're going to be focusing on reports, getting back to the sponsors and letting them know how we are meeting that scope of work that we've agreed to. There are several kinds of reports. Probably the most common one is the progress or the performance report. And they can be monthly, which are usually pretty informal, quarterly. Most sponsors require an annual report. And then, of course, the final report saying, what did we do? What did we accomplish? Did we meet all our aims? Did we encounter any problems? Another common report is the financial report. That is handled by CCO. Ultimately, the PI is responsible for all the reports. However, various departments do assist in getting these reports submitted. With the financial, CCO does take care of that. It can be the SF 425, which is the most common one that is used for the federal agencies, but there are other forms that the various sponsors use as well. But anything that's financial, that's CCO. Invention reporting, that is done in conjunction with venture partners. If a PI develops new technology or applies for a patent, they need to disclose this to the sponsor. And so they need to get that information into venture partners. If they do that, then I take care of getting the reporting into the sponsor. So it's real important that if any new technology or patents come out of a funding for a particular project, that information gets into venture partners. Property is another important piece. If we acquire property with some of the funds for the grants, many times we need to report this back to the sponsor. And I know Penny is here today. She is our guru of everything property. She'll be doing some training a little later this year. So if you're interested in that, be sure to put that one on your schedule. And finally, there can be other types of reports too. Occasionally there are one-offs where they just need to have like a draft report that they want to read, or a specific task they want a separate report on. But again, we try and get all of this into InfoEd and try and keep the PIs appraised of when things are coming up so that they meet the deadlines. Okay, why does reporting matter? Well, technically, the PI is contractually obligated to follow the terms and conditions of the accepted award agreement. So if we have accepted the award, part of the terms and conditions there's usually a section on reporting and what is required. Sometimes it's very specific and it'll say, we need to have these reports on these dates. And other times it's a little less, it's a little more vague. So it takes a little bit of research to find out exactly what the sponsor is looking for with regard to the reports. But that's part of my job, is to help the PIs navigate this and make sure that they meet the requirements and get those reports in on time. Okay, we're going to just briefly touch on something that is called the Grants Oversight and New Efficiency Act, the GON Act. This was enacted by Congress back in 2015. And basically, part of the reason it's so important to get our reporting in is that Congress cares. They are very interested in making sure that grants do get closed out, and grants cannot be closed out unless we have successfully submitted all the required reporting. So there's a lot of words on this particular slide. The most important thing to remember is that the federal government really does care, regardless of the agency. And I know I don't hear it as much now. When I first started with OCG, the PIs would say, well, the sponsors never cared before. Well, the truth is, because of the GON Act, the sponsors now care. So it is really, really important to get those reports completed and get them submitted in a timely fashion. Okay. I gotta move some. Zoom gives me way too many things on here. It's covering up half my slide. Okay, so there's a couple things to keep in mind when we are talking about reporting. Probably the most important thing is timeliness. Sponsors expect that the reports will be submitted on or before the due date. Late reports can have consequences. NSF is probably the most obnoxious sponsor with reminders for reports. They will start sending them 90 days before the report's due. And it'll be like once a month. And then the closer the reporting date comes, you'll get more and more reminders. Pretty soon you're getting them every day. And you know what? If you miss that deadline, then you're going to start getting you have a delinquent report. Your report is overdue. NASA has also started doing that. And they sometimes have very strongly worded reminders. And so timeliness is really, really important. The sponsors really want to make sure that they get that stuff on time. It's expected. Next thing, format. There is a basic format for most progress reports, and I will go over what's typically included in a progress report. But it's important that you use the format that the sponsor requests. A lot of sponsors now have online forms. So for instance, NIH has their RPPR form online, NSF is online. NOAA has recently gone to having an RPPR online. In other cases, it's a template that the PIs can fill out and we submit via email. If there is a template available, I have tried to post those on the OCG website under the reporting section. And so feel free to contact me if your PI is going, gosh, I haven't done this before. I'm not sure what I should include in the report. I will be able to help them get what they need, either a template or guide them into the online system. Save a copy. So if it is not an online system, if the PI is doing their report using a Word document or a PowerPoint document, it's really, really important to save a copy. We like to get a copy at OCG, specifically sending it to OCG reports at colorado.edu, because then one, I know that the PI has completed the requirement and I mark it off, so I don't bug them about it. Two, it's saved up into the official award record. Excuse me. And in InfoEd, sorry. And there is a requirement that all these records are retained for 3 years from the date of the submission of the final expenditure report. So you have a grant, let's say it ends December 31st, 2020. Your closeout documents are due in 90 days. Once that 90-day period has passed and the last reports have gone in, we need to retain those copies for 3 years after that. If a copy has been sent to OCG, the responsibility for the record retention passes to OCG from the PI in the department. If we don't get a copy, then the PI is responsible for maintaining that copy for that 3-year period. And they need to be able to reproduce a copy if requested. I will let you know there are several sponsors who will remain nameless, but they have occasionally come back and said, oh, well, we didn't get a copy of the report. If I have a copy, if I've received a copy and put it up into InfoEd, then I will go ahead and respond directly to the sponsor and send them the report. If I don't have a copy, then I'm going to be coming back to the department and the PI and saying, hey, the sponsor needs another copy of the final report, or your annual report. We need to get a copy in right away. So it's really important. We want to try and make this as easy as possible. So definitely make sure you copy OCG reports with anything that is submitted to the sponsor. And finally, a little bit about logistics. There are certain sponsors that required an authorized official to sign off and submit the reports. NIH is probably the biggest one that requires that. The reporting is all done online, but when the PI has completed the RPPR online form, they need to route it to me so that I can review it and then submit it under my signature. There are also some foundations that require this. Simon's Foundation is another one that we need to sign off, the Department of Justice. A lot of times PIs can submit directly, but there are a few that do require an authorized signature. And I make sure that I let the PIs know when they have to route it to me to be submitted. So I'm going to pause just for a moment, catch my breath, take a little sip of water. Are there any questions? I know I've been kind of talking quickly and rapidly. Okay. Annie, did you?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Betty.
No, that's okay. I just happened to see. So what's your question?
Do you have any idea when we're talking about, when you said that we have to maintain that final report for 3 years, do we know how long, like, Grants Online keeps a fine? I mean, when the PI submits their final report in Grants Online, and let's say they didn't copy OCG reporting, how long does it stay out there? Any idea?
Well, with Grants Online, so is that NOAA?
Yeah.
Okay, with NOAA, I can actually download the report. Mm-hmm. So, but it is good to have a backup copy, because we actually, even if we've submitted it to the sponsor, I don't know what their personal retention period is, but as far as they are concerned, CU needs to retain a copy for that 3-year period. So
if a PI doesn't copy you on their final report, you are going in and downloading it from there?
I am. I do for the ones that they are online that I have access to. So Grants Online, NSF, those are probably the 2 big ones where I'm not directly involved with the submission. If I'm directly involved with the submission, right, it's no big deal. Yeah. And like the Space Telescope people, they actually send us a copy.
Okay.
when the PI submits it, so it's automatic. Um, when in doubt, send me a copy. If I don't need it, it goes away. It's better to send a copy. But again, specifically with Grants Online, I do download those.
Okay, that's good to know, because we do have several hurricane supplementals that, I mean, the reporting on that is quite onerous for our PIs, and so I don't expect that they are, necessarily every quarter,
Right.
when they're doing their report, they're copying in OCG reporting, but just making sure that that final report is maintained.
Yeah. And with the Grants Online, if there is a link, in other words, they are truly uploading it through Grants Online, then I can get to it and I'll mark it off. Sometimes we don't really track anything more frequent than quarterly. And there are a few awards they want monthly updates, but that's usually super informal.
Okay, great. Thank you, Betty.
Okay, anything else?
Hi, Betty. There's one question in chat.
Okay.
Is there a way to confirm that OCG Reports has a copy of the report so PIs know that they are no longer responsible?
Yes, there is. If we received a copy of the report, it has been uploaded into InfoEd in the Deliverables folder. So I don't have any screenshots this time around of InfoEd, but when you go in there, and you don't even need to, I think you can just go in view mode. You should be able to see, there's a list. It'll be like submissions, awards, approvals, and then there's a folder that's called Deliverables. That's where, when we do the initial review of the award, we set up all the required deliverables. And as we get the copies of the reports, that's where we upload them. And they can also be found in the attachments. It's just easier to find them in the deliverables folders, because some of the attachments folders can have 500 documents, and can be a little bit of a search for things. So, and the other way is, if you're unsure, you can always just give me a shout. Hey, I can't find this. I thought I sent you a copy. Anything else?
Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
You mentioned earlier that CCO is responsible for financial report, such as like SF 425.
Yes.
Do you actually have type of report that you prepare, or you are more like a liaison between the departments and PIs and sponsor?
So I guess I don't quite understand the question. I do act as a liaison between the PIs and the sponsor, mainly for the technical reporting and the invention reporting, property reporting, along with Penny. We act as the liaison. Anything that has to do with dollars, with money, with expenditures, CCO is the official reporter on that, because I don't have the authority to sign off on financials, with the exception of the final release, and that I coordinate with CCO.
Okay. I was just wondering who is responsible, what type of reports?
Yeah. Anything that has to do with financial reporting, 99.9% of the time, it is CCO who will be taking the lead on that, because they are the ones that are authorized to sign off on that. And they would be coordinating with the departments to make sure that all the expenses are fine in there, and that the transfers have gone through, and that sort of thing. Occasionally I do get questions that are financially related, and then I just pass them on to the correct person in CCO.
Okay.
Does that make
Sounds
sense?
good. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? It's funny because I can't see you. Okay, I can see a couple of you. All right. Oh, and I think there we go. All right. What exactly is in a progress report. And I will let you know that this is basically what they are always looking for. And the templates that I have available still, they cover all these sections. Basically, you want to make sure the PI wants to make sure that they identify the award. And specifically, it's always good to include the award number, the title of the project, the period of performance dates, the institution name, because that's who the award was actually issued to, the PI's name, and contact information. Once you've put that in the beginning on your front page, then there are certain things that are always required. They will always want a summary of your accomplishments. What have you done in the last period with the money? What have you accomplished? Did you encounter any problems, delays? Are there any changes in the scope of work or key personnel? Submissions and publications, new technology. Did any of those items come out of the research that was conducted during the period of performance? Are there any special reporting things? Occasionally there are special requirements that are defined by the sponsor that need to be touched on. Who are the participants, and how much effort was put into the project during this period? I know in the past year in particular, because of COVID, there has been a lot of information that has had to be conveyed to the sponsor with delays and some of the problems PIs have encountered just because of how things are right now, with us all having to be remote and starting and stopping, and just the challenges that we have. And the sponsors have been very, very receptive. The main thing is to just be very upfront with what you're doing. Okay, so now that we've talked about what's included in a report and what's expensive, what happens if you're unsuccessful? There are potential consequences. It's a big deal for our reputation as a university and the PI. If you are continually late, it can be a problem. It is technically a breach of our award agreement. It does impact other researchers and staff. I know PIs have already received notices from NSF that either they are unable to submit something, or that their proposal is being held because somebody on the proposal has an outstanding report. We, as an institution, can impose some actions, and we'll be looking at that a little more closely here. And the sponsor can withhold funding. So again, it's just super, super important to just make sure that the reports are turned in on time and that they're complete. And the sponsors do come back if they have questions. We make sure that we answer any questions that they have on the report, but just really important. And that's why I'm here, is to make sure that the PI is successful in their reporting. So if they have any questions, I can't emphasize enough, just reach out. I'll do my best. If I don't know the answer, I'll track it down. Okay, so as far as institution actions, we do actually have a specific policy that is in regard to people who are habitually late, because we start getting notices from sponsors, and some of them say, hey, if you don't get this report in, we're going to take action against you, the PI, and you, the university. And that just doesn't sit very well. I will let you know, we really, really only do this if people are habitually late and unresponsive. So in other words, if Joe PI is late and I've sent them numerous notices that he has a late part, and the sponsor has sent them numerous notices, and we have heard nothing. They have not come back to us and said they have extenuating circumstances. They have not reached out for assistance. That's when we start invoking this because we need to get their attention. The very first strike is they were going to send an email to the chair or director of their institute, and PI is copied, and it's basically saying, hey, we need to get this report in. Please follow up with your PI and make sure that they get this report submitted within the next 3 business days. So we give them 3 days. Okay, I might give them 3+. But then if they are unresponsive and we don't hear anything and that report is still late, we're going to come back yet again, send another one to the chair and the director, and again say they have another 3 days to get this, business days to get this report in. Okay, great. When we have to send the 3rd notice, and we don't have to do this often, but I will let you know it does happen, we will notify the chair or director that we will hold all the PI's award actions until the report is submitted to the sponsor. So what that means is if the PI has an outstanding report to NSF, they are 3 or 4 months late with the report, we are not going to process any new funding that comes in for that particular PI until the report is submitted. We usually don't have to go beyond that. It does get people's attention, and they usually, once we put them on hold, they usually turn it around pretty quickly. That being said, that's the first consequence. If they're still unresponsive, the second thing we're going to do is if, we give them a couple of weeks to get this in, we're already holding their award actions. If we're still not hearing anything, the report is still delinquent, the next action we will take is we will not submit any new proposals. And we don't take this lightly. We really, I don't like to be the bad guy. I don't like to put PIs on hold because it's hurting everybody. But it's really important that these reports get submitted. And we do get notes from the sponsor that they're going to put us on a bad list, see you on a bad list. And it does affect other PIs as well. So just super important. There is a link in the slides that I know Nikki shared with all of you that will see the published procedural statement. And it does walk through exactly what the consequences are for late reporting. It has been approved by Terry, the Vice Chancellor of Research and Innovation, and all the details are there. And again, this is just because we have a few people who they just don't do it. So don't like to, but yeah, it's there. Okay. So that pretty much covers the way of the world in reporting, but now we're going to cover just a few things, and there we go. Go over some of the recent updates. A lot of things have been coming out recently with regard to reporting to the federal sponsors. First, as many of you I'm sure are aware, the uniform guidance has been updated. There is greater emphasis on project outcomes, reporting format, and submission timelines. The language in the UG is now stronger. Again, just very important to get those reports in a timely basis. Poor performance can lead to termination of the award, and it's specifically called out in the UG now. And the other thing that came out in the UG is that final reports are due no later than 120 days. It used to be 90 days. Now it's bumped out to 120 days. So if an award is being dictated by the UG, that is the time frame for submitting all final reports. If you have subs under this report, that time limit has been extended to 90 days from 60. But again, it's always best to go into InfoEd and take a look. If you are, if it's an older award, it may still be under the old 90-day due date. But going forward, anything that's under the UG should have 120 days to submit those final reports. NSF has been there for quite some time, as has NIH. And so now the rest of the federal agencies are following suit. With National Institutes of Health, NIH, they have a new look. So if you are logging into ERA Commons for the first time since last week, when your home page looks quite different. That being said, it is designed to be more user-friendly. And once you click on where you want to go, you're going to get to a more familiar view. But just mainly to be aware that if you have not recently, like in the last week, logged into NIH, know that that first page is going to look a little different. If you have any questions, you can give me a shout. Department of the Interior, they have now moved reporting to grant solutions, where in the past that reporting was just emailed into the award. Sorry, just drawing a blank. I hate it when Monday comes on Tuesday. The award grant officer we used to email those in for Department of Interior awards. Now it needs to be done through Grant Solutions. The PI can submit their progress reports directly. If they do not have a user ID, they're going to want to get in contact with Ron Madison of our office. He will be able to get them set up. And just to be aware that some reporting dates may have changed with this transition from submitting progress reports through email for Department of Interior to doing it online with Grant Solutions. Department of Justice, yep, they changed too. The reporting will now be completed through Just Grants. Department of Justice is one of those that do require an authorized signature. The PI will still complete the report online, but I do need to actually do the submission. So if any of your PIs have an award with the Department of Justice, they should give me a shout and we'll coordinate getting those reports in a timely fashion. National Science Foundation, NSF, there have been a few changes with their online reporting. Probably the biggest one, and this was actually sent out in October of 2020. Anybody who had an NSF report got a notice. We tried to really make sure people were aware of this. If there have been changes in current and pending support for the PIs or any key personnel, they need to submit a new document, current and pending support document, in the NSF approved format. And that's something that we can help you with if you're not sure what that is. But again, this is a change, and they are really, I know I had one report that was submitted by PI and then rejected because they had not submitted the updated current and pending support. So just to be aware of it. There are a couple new questions under impact and changes and problems tab. Nothing that's not easily understood. But again, just be aware there are a couple new questions there. The PIs might think, oh, I haven't seen this before. Yeah, just a couple of them. And then finally, I've been seeing more requests or requirements with NSF awards for an interim progress report, a quarterly report, or other interval, something outside of the normal or typical annual report plus the final reports. Annual and final reports in the past, they are defined out in research.gov. When the PI logs in there, they can see the reports for, oh, there's my annual report, there's my final report. They click on the link and just go on. The difference with the interim progress reports, so if the particular award requires a quarterly report, the PI actually has to initiate the form. Once they initiate it, then they will see the form that looks typically, it looks very much like the annual report, with the accomplishments, challenges, participants, all those required sections, but it is initiated by the PI rather than being already set up by research.gov. So are there any questions? I know that was kind of that was a learning thing for me because people were saying, I have a quarterly report, I don't know how to submit it. It needs to be initiated by the PI. And I'm more than happy to help the PI to walk through it if they need assistance with that. Any questions on the changes? Notifications come out to the PIs and to department administrators that have to do with reporting or awards ending or upcoming deadlines. If you're not sure what it's about, please reach out. Give me a shout. If it's nothing to do with my office, I will get you pointed in the right direction and talk to the right people. If you're thinking, hey, I'm getting closeout notices and we're getting a no cost extension, we filed it, just reach out, let us know. We'll let you know if there's any concerns, that if there's anything you need to do. And like I said, even if it's not something that I would normally handle, give me a shout. I'll get you to the right person. And there's my email. And finally, and this is in the packet that you all received from Nikki. There are a number of resources if you want additional information